What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Boom! How to Podcast coming back at you with another episode. This time I'm talking about video, adding video. I've talked all about the audio end of it, doing a traditional podcast in more of the traditional way. A lot of podcasts now are adding the video element to it. There's a lot of ways to do it, but since you already have the audio file, if you've already gone that way and maybe you're adding video later, I'm going to talk about one of the ways you can add video, and then there's another way that's production-wise is completely different from what I've been talking about. But if you have your audio file, what I do, I edit the audio file. That then gets imported into iMovie, and then also gets uploaded to the host for the podcast. But for the video, the YouTube and IGTV version, I'll edit the audio, make sure I have my intro, outro music, any external audio that I need, and I put that into the video. And when I record the video, one of the tips is have the mic recording on your built-in video camera. That way, when you go to load in your high-quality audio, it's super easy to sync up. Sometimes video will record at a slightly different speed than your audio. I've noticed with my GoPro to where you have to adjust the speed of your video slightly or audio to match it up. But having that audio synced up automatically on the camera makes it super easy when you go to sync up your higher quality audio. So if you are doing it in iMovie, you'll load in your audio, high quality audio, you load in your video, and then you match it up. You get rid of the camera audio because you don't want that shitty audio. It's just for syncing purposes only. Now you have your audio and your video all synced up. You can add things to your video, intro, outro, all those kinds of things. You could play around with it. Again, explore and kind of play around with iMovie or whatever video editing software you're going to use. And then you export it. The thing with doing video, you're going to have a lot larger files, so make sure you have good amount of hard drive space if you're doing a lot of episodes or you plan on storing your video locally. But what I do is usually just upload to YouTube. I used to upload a second version to, not a second version, but I'd upload that same file to also Vimeo, so it was on two video platforms. I don't have my Vimeo account anymore. So now I'm just uploading to YouTube, which is kind of risky because YouTube at any time, if somebody complains enough, they can just eliminate all of the work that I've done and posted on YouTube. Thankfully, with this show, it gets posted to IGTV and YouTube. So I still try to have two sources for the video to live. Same thing with the audio. The audio from the video, if you lose your audio, you can always rip the audio from your video file. You can always use that as a backup, having video. Now, with video, if you're not recording, you could use... There's a lot of cameras to record your video. I use, for this show, I use a Canon DSLR camera, the 7D with a 50mm lens on it, 50mm prime lens on it. I have the audio recording on the camera body, and then I have my separate audio recording with my H4n. I'll edit the H4n audio with the intro music and all that kind of stuff and all the sound effects. And then I take it and dump it into iMovie where I sync it up with the video from the recorder. The downside with recording on the camera that I'm using is that it's limited to about 13 minutes. But the good thing about IGTV, it's limited to 10 minutes. The max is 10 minutes. So it works out. So I try and keep all my episodes 5 to 10 minutes in length, which also helps out with the fact that I release the show daily. It's a shorter episode. File sizes are going to be smaller on all the things. So it works out in the back end when I have to edit. Because if you're doing 3-hour episodes, it takes a lot of time to render that shit. And the file size is going to be a lot bigger. So always record. Try and record. You always want the best quality. Best quality when recording. That way, when you go to edit it, you're not losing a lot of quality. It's really hard. It's impossible a lot of times to go the other way. If you have shitty audio or shitty video, you can clean stuff up a little bit, but that shouldn't be your objective. You shouldn't constantly be cleaning up audio. or video. So try and get your best quality. There are camcorders. Canon makes a good camcorder that a lot of people use, a lot of vloggers use, that have a little flip-up screen that you can rotate so you can see yourself to frame it up. I have my camera plugged into my TV, so I'm able to frame things up. I've also used GoPros, are really convenient. The newer GoPros have screens on them, so you can frame up your shot good. The batteries tend to last a good amount of time, but there's also options to get plugs. There's options to get power adapters for your cameras and your H4Ns and all of those things. That way you don't have to worry about batteries all the time. But yeah, once you get your video edited, you export it. You want to try and get 1080p. That's going to be the highest, or 4K if you're filming with a 4K camera or 4K GoPro. The higher quality, the better. But also realize the higher the quality, the much larger the file size is going to be, especially for video. All of my episodes tend to come out 720p because it's all going to be on a mobile device anyway. All of these are designed specifically with the intent of watching these shows on your phone. They're filmed in the portrait mode versus landscape mode, which is when you're doing, if you are using iMovie, you have to rotate everything so everything's sideways, and then you export it, and then after you export it, you have to do an additional step to turn the video up on its side to get the appropriate portrait angle, and you do that through QuickTime. You'll open your movie in QuickTime. In the edit, there's a rotate. You'll rotate it so it's straight up and down, and then you go to export it, you close it out, and you save it as a new file. And bam, you got your portrait video. So it's an extra step if you're trying to do Instagram TV videos versus just YouTube. But YouTube will accept the portrait video, so you don't have to do any additional editing. You're just going to have blank sides on your YouTube video, which is no big deal because, like I said, I am specifically doing this for people to watch. And you can still watch it without your mobile. It could be on a TV. It's just going to look a little bit different. You know, you're going to see me. You're just going to be empty spaces on the sides of me. But yeah, there's also another way to do it, which is more if you want to go live and you want to have a more complex production, similar to what I did with the Inspired Disorder podcast in Denver. I'm going to break down how I had my studio set up in Denver, along with some examples to give you. And the software that I used, Wirecast, for that, which like I said, I'll go in depth on that episode. You're able to broadcast live to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and not Instagram, but Twitter. So and some other live streaming apps. So it has a lot. It supports all of the major kind of live streaming platforms that are out there. But production-wise is completely different, and it'll be a completely different setup. So maybe next episode I'll do that where I'll break it down. But that's when you're trying to go live. This is more for recording and then post-producing and then uploading. So that's it. Take your audio, add it to your video. Make sure you have audio recorded on your video camera for syncing purposes only. Make sure to get rid of that audio before you save your video, or else you'll still, since the audio will be synced up, you won't have any echoes or anything like that, but it won't sound as good as if you just had your produced audio only. But that's it, everybody. That's how you add video to your podcast. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments. Please, about anything. And I do these episodes every Sunday, so check them out. There's also on my Instagram at Ray Taylor. In the highlights, there's a highlight section specifically for how to podcast episodes, so you don't have to scroll through IGTV forever looking for it. But that's it, everybody. Go to my website, inspireddisorder.com, for all of my artwork and everything else I do. Links are up top. My name is Ray Taylor. Have a great day. Peace out!